Yo, what's up, boys? Back at it again with another YouTube video. Trying to bounce back from that UFC fight night, Lewis versus Nascimento, with getting Rebecki and Borishev dead wrong, and looking to bounce back with UFC fight night, Barboza versus Murphy. First fight up, Emily Ducote versus Vanessa Demopoulos. Emily Ducote is 2-2 in the UFC, and Vanessa Demopoulos is 4-2 in the UFC. But I'd say Vanessa Demopoulos has two fraudulent wins against Frey. I think that she didn't win that fight, and then the Murata, I feel like that was probably, even though Murata didn't land too much damage, that was probably like, especially the live bet. I think it was like minus like 5,000 or something like that, and Vanessa ended up getting the win. I'd say so with her two fraudulent wins. I'd say she's like a 2-4 fighter. She hasn't faced anybody crazy good. On the other side, Emily Ducote has faced Loopy and Hill, although those were losses. I'd say those are decent losses. It kind of caps her out to how good she can be, but I'd say she's the more technical striker. She can work in body kicks. She has a really good teat to the body. She has good leg kicks. I'd say she can even take this fight to the ground. Vanessa Demopoulos is a jiu-jitsu fighter. She only has one submission win in the UFC, and it came by her getting dropped and then a minute later her submitting that girl. But I'd say Vanessa Demopoulos is tough. She'll keep fighting regardless, but she's going to end up losing a unanimous decision, probably 30-27 or 29-28 by Emily Ducote. Next up, Atalang Haley versus Clayton Rodrigues. Um, Haley is 4-2-1 in the UFC, and Rodrigues is 1-2 in the UFC. I'd say that this fight is a tough one. I feel like it can go either way. I feel like Haley is really tough. He doesn't have too much output, but Rodrigues, on the other hand, is really explosive, has good output, and I'd say that the explosiveness definitely kind of makes him get gassed in later rounds, but I feel like he has the more powerful punches. He is more flashy, but I feel like I'd say he's the fact that he's more output just makes him have the edge for me. I feel like Haley can land good punches and he actually backs people up pretty well, but I feel like the leg kicks and just like the pure athleticism from Rodrigues is gonna edge him out on the scorecards. I'd say Rodrigues by decision, but it's not a too confident pick. But I'd say Rodrigues, being versatile in the different strikes he can throw, he's really explosive, has really good knees. The output is just going to be there for the judges, and I think that even the knockout could be live, but Haley just seems too tough to me. So I'd say Rodrigues by decision. Next up, Pereira Rodrigues versus Ariana Carnelossi. I'd say that this fight is a crazy close fight. I'd say the most confident in like bet in this fight would definitely be the decision. I feel like both of them have finishes. Carnelossi has two finishes in the UFC. On the other hand, Rodrigues doesn't have any wins in the UFC by finish, but outside the UFC she does. I'd say Rodrigues is kind of like a nothing bird puncher. She has good strikes. I'd say she can mix in takedowns as well. On the other hand, Carnelossi can work in takedowns. She likes to press people up against the fence. I'd say that her punches are definitely really wild, and she's not the most technical striker. And she's gonna try to just like burst in with her explosion and throw wild hooks, um, and put her against the cage. But even if she works in a takedown, I feel like Rodrigues will be able to get up. And the reason why my pick is going to be Rodrigues by decision, it might be by a split decision, but I think it's going to be a close fight. Rodrigues by decision because she's the cleaner fighter. I feel like she can evade Carnelossi's wild hooks, and I'd say that she'll be able to get up if she gets taken down. But this is a crazy close fight. I'd say most confident things in this fight would be it going to decision and Carnelossi being able to take a round. So Rodrigues by split decision seems like a alright bet. Next up, Abus Magomedov versus Warley Alves. I'd say this whole fight is just depending on if Magomedov has a better gas tank. I'd say that his first round is pretty good. He comes out too fast for sure, and that's what happened against Strickland. He had a crazy good round against Strickland, ended up gassing the second, got finished. Say he took a slower approach against Baralho, but his strikes are definitely really good. He's more technical than Alves, and I'd say that he's just way quicker than him as well. He's bigger than him. Warley Alves is moving up from 170 to 185. His first fight at 185 was his last one. Got knocked out by Ikram. Ikram's a way better fighter, so I think this is a step down in competition. But I think he's just too slow. He's not technical enough. I think the size is a problem. And I'd say I don't even know if he can take down Magomedov. So if Magomedov doesn't gas, I feel like this is just Magomedov all day. I have pretty medium confidence, but you can't have too high confidence, especially with someone that has a gas tank problem. But Magomedov by knockout is going to be my pick. Next up, Tamares Vidal versus Melissa Gatto. I'd say this is definitely one of my most confident picks. It's going to be Gatto by decision. I think that she's just better than Vidal everywhere. Vidal is kind of like a wild puncher. She has really good knees, but she's a jiu-jitsu fighter that likes to strike and is too confident with her strikes. I'd say that the Rendon fight was like a prime example of that. She's not at this level. I'd say Gatto is just the cleaner striker. She has better submission game. She's just more dangerous and more experienced. I'd say she's clearly proven to be a UFC fighter, and I don't know if Vidal is. She might be, but I think she'll be a low-level fighter. Gatto by decision or Gatto by sub, but I'm going to go with Gatto by decision on this one. Next up, Aomar Sai versus Tuco Tokos. I'd say these are both debuting fighters, but I'd say Sai by knockout or Sai by finish, Sai by decision. It just has to be the move. I feel like you're stupid if you're picking Tokos. Tokos is just slow. He's not that technical. If you watch any of his fights, I feel like I don't even know how he's getting all these wins. I mean, he's obviously good, but I don't think he's UFC level. Sai, he might not be that good, but he's really athletic, really strong, works in takedowns. I feel like that's his number one thing. He just wants to go to the ground. He wants to get on top, ground and pound, maybe look for a submission. I'd say he will definitely, the start of the fight, he's going to look to maybe catch his distance and then instantly go for a takedown. I feel like within the first minute, Sai's got to go for a takedown. I think this fight is going to go and ends in finish. Sai, either by submission or KO, but Tokos just doesn't seem like he is UFC level, and I'd say that Sai, I'm pretty sure, had two. This is the third fighter that he got offered, and I'd say this is definitely the easiest matchup between all those three, and he's definitely going to get it done. I have really high confidence in Sai. Next up, Tom Nolan versus Victor Martinez. I feel like this is also one of those ones that both of them are. They could be similar level, but I feel like Nolan definitely has the upside. He has the better striking. He's way more intense, has way more powerful punches. He mixes in really good kicks. If you watched his fights, I feel like he is just better everywhere. Martinez is tough though. I'd say the problem with Nolan is he is kind of really aggressive to the point where he is vulnerable to get knocked out. But Martinez doesn't seem like he has that much power in his hands. And I'd say the last fight that Martinez, oh no, the second to last fight that Martinez had against Rosales, the only reason he kind of won that I feel like is because of the output, obviously, which is good on him. But I'd say that Rosales on the third round, he ended up breaking his arm. So, I mean, you can give him that win, but losing to Levitt by knockout is pretty tough. I feel like Levitt is definitely not. He's a jiu-jitsu fighter, so I'd say not getting knocked out by him is kind of hard pressed. And he's been knocked out before, I believe. Yeah, 2 knockout losses. That's not the worst, but I'd say Tom Nolan definitely brings the heat. He definitely brings the intensity. He's really clean with his strikes. He mixes in all kinds of strikes, and I'd say he's going to win by knockout in the first round. Next up, Angela Hill versus Luana Pinheiro. I'd say that this is just a veteran versus up and comer. Luana is really explosive. She throws heat. I'd say she is really dangerous, and the danger level between Hill and Luana is nowhere near. Because Hill is like the most decision burger fighter ever. Um, but she is also really experienced. I feel like the experience for Hill is going to be the upside, and she's going to be able to adapt to the fight and be able to maybe work in takedowns, or if she's able to stay on the outside and win like that, she'll do that. And I feel like that Luana will find success and will land punches, but Hill has never been knocked out, and I feel like the judo throws that Luan will throw might happen, but I feel like he'll be able to bounce back up. Luan will get tired towards the second and third, and Hill is going to win by decision. Next up, Adrian Yanez versus Vinicius Salvador. I'd say that this fight is going to end by finish. Adrian Yanez, I think, is going to knock him out just because he brings the heat. He's really tough. On the other hand, where Salvador kind of messes around, he can stay on the outside and throw pretty good strikes, but he doesn't have too much urgency. Where Yanez, all his wins pretty much in the UFC, except one I think, are by knockout. His last two fights were against Rob Font and Martinez, where he got finished, but I'd say that those strikers are definitely at a different level than Yanez himself and Salvador, but Yanez is just a cleaner striker. He's kind of like just a boxer. Doesn't throw too many leg kicks. Doesn't throw. I mean, he'll mix in body shots, but I feel like he's just kind of like a head puncher, head hunter. I'd say Yanez is the cleaner striker. He's just the more experienced as well. Fought better competition, and he should be able to knock him out in the first round. Next up, Ramiz Brahamaj versus Temba Gorimbo. I'd say that this fight is crazy close. I'd say that Temba Gorimbo, he is really tough. He is like a workhorse. He'll definitely just keep going, try to find better positions. If he's on bottom, he'll try to get up. But the problem is he can't really hold control. I'd say that he gets good takedowns. He gets good positions like back control or mount or even half guard, but I'd say he just can't hold them for some reason. I feel like I don't know if it's the experience or what, but he has good submissions. He has knockout power, but it's not that technical and it's more like swingy. On the other hand, Ramiz, I'd say that he is really dangerous on the ground. He has good takedowns, and if he's able to get the takedown on Gorimbo, I think that he can get the submission win. Just because Gorimbo kind of just like even if Gorimbo is able to get a takedown, I feel like Ramiz is able to reverse the position because Temba Gorimbo gets reversed pretty much every single fight. He gets a takedown every fight, but he also gets reversed, and I feel like this is just a really close fight. I feel like the fact that Ramiz is hasn't fought in 2 years is pretty bad. It could mean that he got better. His stand up isn't crazy good. I think he has worse stand up than Gorimbo and less power. I think he's way more dangerous on top. Submission game is more dangerous. I think that Temba Gorimbo will be able to just outwork Ramiz and bring into the later rounds where both of them are tired, but Gorimbo will outwork him and be able to get the decision win. Next up, Chaos Williams versus Carlston Harris. I'd say that this fight is, I don't know, I feel like Harris is kind of just better than him everywhere. Even though his strikes aren't that much better and or more technical, Chaos Williams is just too wild. Like he has power, but I feel like it's more of like a fake power because the fact that he's like throwing so wild and so crazy and it's too predictable. I feel like he's readable and you can kind of just like roll with the punches. And that like the last win against the Bedoya, I'd say that he definitely robbed that decision. I'd say that Carlson will be able to get takedowns and stay on the outside and land his strikes. I think that he'll take this fight to the ground, and his submission game is actually crazy nasty. And I'd say, or not crazy nasty, it's more underrated, but I'd say that he can win on the feet and on the ground, and I think he will get it on the ground. I think Harrison by decision is probably the most likely thing, just because Williams will start to fade towards the later rounds, won't have too much power. Harrison obviously has the power, but I feel like Williams is tough enough to survive. Harrison by decision is going to be my pick. In the main event, Edson Barboza versus Lerone Murphy. I feel like anybody, I don't even understand how Murphy is the favorite. I think he's like minus 150, something like that. He was minus 150 against Culibao. Culibao is not no Edson Barboza, and I feel like Edson Barboza is just the better striker, more experienced. He the versatility that he has in his strikes and the ability with his legs. I feel like he's probably one of the best leg kickers um, in the UFC or MMA in general. He's got some of the craziest knockouts. He's getting under. I don't even know how he's the underdog here. I feel like he's getting underrated. People are pushing him aside maybe because of his age. His last two fights were really good. He's faced Edson Barboza has pretty much faced everyone there is to face. He's at 145 now. I feel like he just got to be able to get it done by knockout. I'm gonna say knockout in the third round, but I can see this fight going to decision. Lerone Murphy, he has takedowns. He's a clean striker. I'd say that he's definitely good, but I feel like he hasn't fought anybody crazy good, and he hasn't like absolutely demolished people. Culibao, I'd say that he ended up like 30-26ing him. I'd say that was a good win for him, but the level of Culibao isn't the level of Barboza. The Gabriel Santos, I think he ended up losing that fight. It was a close fight. I thought he lost, but I feel like he's not faced anybody like Edson Barboza. Hasn't faced anybody at the caliber of Edson Barboza. Um, the striking, it's going to be a striking matchup with maybe Murphy trying to get in takedowns, but I don't even know if he's going to be able to take him down. So Edson Barboza all the way. I have decent confidence in Edson Barboza, and I think he's going to knock him out. And that's it for UFC Fight Night Barboza versus Murphy. Thanks for watching. And that's it for UFC Fight Night Barboza versus Murphy. Thanks for watching.